Okay. Hi, so in this video, I'm going to be talking about the evolution of fashion, and we're going to be starting with the Victorian era. So, the Victorian era began, Lord have mercy. The Victorian era began when Queen Victoria was crowned in 1837 and ended when she died in 1901. There was an introduction of synthetic dyes, which allowed clothes to be very colorful. If you hear screaming in the back, please ignore it. It's my brother. There's an introduction of synthetic dyes, which allowed clothes to be more colorful. Women were beginning to work outside the home more, so in later years, clothing became a lot more movable and a lot less gigantic. The invention of the sewing machine made clothing production a lot easier. Some accessories of this time were large hats that were decorated with ribbon, fabric, veil, and sometimes stuffed birds. There were also shawls, cloaks, gloves, and parasols, which were little umbrellas. The silhouette of women was a bell shape, and this was created by a form-fitted bodice, which was heavily boned, and a large skirt that was held up by crinolines. The skirt got smaller near the end of the decade. Like I said, clothing got more movable. And just to be clear, crinolines are stiff structured petticoats that held up and gave shape to the overskirt. And sleeves were also quite big. Here in this corner, you see, here in this corner, you see this lady. She's wearing a shawl. Look at her, so pretty. These ladies are wearing hats. This one has birds, like I said, I was right. And these ladies are wearing cloaks. You can see here are the big sleeves. And this is a crinoline. OMG. Okay. Uh, the later Victorian era. So, like I said, women's skirts got smaller. It got flatter in the front and rounder in the back, like a BBL, except for Victorians. You can see it's flat up here and then round in the back. And then hats also got smaller. Edwardian. So the Edwardian era began when King Edward VII was crowned in 1901 and ended in 1914 when someone else took the throne. It extended to the start of the First World War. So sad. These are the little soldiers, and this is King Edward. Um, so the Edwardian era. So it was similar to the previous era. There were big hats like that. The Gibson girl silhouette was very popular. This is the Gibson girl silhouette. It created an S-shaped figure by pushing the bust out and the bust and the butt out. Tops, like the tops women wore, were looser, and they were like blousy. Sleeves were still very dramatic, and there was an emphasis on graceful and sophisticated women. Here you can see the blousy tops, very pretty, very cute. She's not Edwardian, I don't know what that is. Very blousy, very pretty. The big sleeves. Okay, and then some more blousy. The 20s. Okay. The 20s, also known as the Jazz Age, because jazz influenced the mood of this decade. Musicians like Louis Armstrong, right here, and Duke Ellington, right here, started to become more well-known names, and they definitely, have made a big impact on jazz. And this time period occurred after World War One, and I wouldn't be surprised if all the glamour of this time was to cope with this traumatic event of the war. It's like a trauma response. In the 20s, having a straight and flat figure was popular, completely different to what it is now. Everybody wants a big butt. But at this time, having a straight figure was popular. Corsets worked to flatten the body instead of curve it. Women wore less layers. Flapper dresses were very popular. I'm pretty sure people know what flapper girls are. The neckline usually had a V or a U shape, and sleeves were usually very short. Coco Chanel helped popularize the flapper girl, so good for her. Some accessories at the time were long strands of pearls, bangles, dangly earrings, or furs. Here is Coco Chanel's flapper dress. Wow, these are some flapper girls dancing the night away. Look at them. Here's a flapper dress. You can see the U-shaped neckline, and then here is a comparison of what corsets were doing up in the Edwardian period with the Gibson girl, and now it's flat. The 40s. So the 40s took place during World War II. It's also known as the War Age because it took place during World War II. There was a material rationing during the war. So things like silk, nylon, wool, leather, rubber, metal were rationed because people needed it in the war. The lack of metal due to rationing meant women couldn't have corsets, which led to the popularization of what we now know as the bra. The bra was not invented in the 40s. It was just like a lot more common because women needed structure to hold up the tatas, but they didn't have a corset. So um, that's a little sneak peek. So in the 40s, women's clothes resembled work uniforms. Fabric shortage meant skirts had to be shorter. The silhouette was square shoulders and narrow hips. As you can see here, square shoulders, narrow hips. Women began wearing pants more and wearing more convenient clothes because they had to help with work during the war because the gentlemen were dying, so they had to step in. Christian Dior launched the new look at the end of the 40s in 1947 to mark the end of the war fashion. It was like, you guys are going from gloom to glam. Oh my gosh, this is the new look by Christian Dior. The 50s. Okay, the 50s. The 50s, war countries were rebuilding. The war's over. Soldiers were coming home. Aw, soldiers coming home, starting families. Women are having kids, popping out babies. Women were becoming housewives and mothers. Also, the television was invented, allowing fashion trends to spread faster. So it went from 9% of people owning a TV to 86% of people. Good for them. Consumerism increased as the government promoted it to strengthen the economy. Yay, capitalism. I'm kidding. More diversity in different kinds of clothes you wear. There was not more diversity in people though, because segregation was definitely a thing. Also, all these ladies are white, so all these different clothes, but all white women. So more diversity in clothes. There were greasers. There were wide skirt. There was a wide skirted belt look. There were pencil skirts. There were sack dresses. All these different outfits. Women no longer had to ration clothes, which meant they could shop to their hearts dropped. Dresses had rounded shoulders, cinched waists, and exaggerated hips and fuller skirts. Women trousers became more common. Though more women were wearing pants, the overall mood was like decorative femininity with skirts and dresses, because everybody knows the 50s is like the stereotypical feminine age or whatever. Here's an example of a greaser. This is a male greaser. Most greasers were men, but there were female greasers. This is a lady greaser. Here are the pencil skirts, so pretty, so cute. And this is the sack dress. It has like an A-line, and these are ladies' trousers. Wow. 60s. Hey mama, welcome to the 60s. Hairspray, right? Anybody? Okay. So in the 60s, clothing became more casual, and it's gonna keep getting casual. So clothing became more casual. People weren't expected to wear suits and dresses all the time anymore. Thank goodness. There was an increased use of modern plastics and synthetic fibers like polyester, acrylics, nylon, rayon, spandex that became more commonly used. And everything was a lot more colorful, as you could see. There were three main categories for women's wear: ladylike elegance, over here with Jacqueline Kennedy, the youthful look, which can be seen with all the color in this photo, and Eastern, which was hippies, which I'm not gonna get too into for my mental health. Jackie Kennedy is an example of ladylike elegance with her boxy pastel skirt suits, as you can see, A-line dresses, pearls, and white gloves. She's wearing white gloves right here. This is her iconic pink suit that she wore when John F. Kennedy got shot next to her. Look how pretty she looks. Youthful styles consisted of a lot of color and simple design. Eastern style was usually what hippies wore. Yeah. And the 60s brought mini skirts and colorful tights. Isn't that fun, everybody? We love colorful tights. Okay. Here's a little example. Yeah. Look at all this color, all these patterns, all these shapes, all this fun. How could you not like this? The 70s. Okay. 70s. Many bold colors and patterns, as you see. Bold colors, bold patterns. Look how fun. The birth of disco, which who could not like that? Increased individualism. Look at all these little Timmy, all the way to Big Timmy, all the way to Tiny, uh, Tamantha, all this individuality. Look how fun. Fashion began incorporating patchwork, crochet, and knitting. People were getting a little handy with their outfits. Satin, sequins, and velvet were popular for nights out. Bell bottoms, jumpsuits, and A-line dresses were very popular attire. Denim became more popular. Also, overall, glamour and sparkle was brought on because of disco. There was also an increased sexual freedom for women, so good for us. So there were clothes inspired by menswear, so they would wear like the suit jackets men had, but it was like colorful and for ladies, I guess. And the wrap dress was also popularized as a comfortable piece of like clothing for working women. You go, girls. Uh, Look at all this denim, so nice. Jumpsuits were also very popular. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Jumpsuits, bell bottoms, like the disco was just filled with that. And who wouldn't like that? Look at all these saggy pants, all this denim, all this color. I don't know why I didn't include this picture in color because Cher was an absolute icon and I should have, and that's a mistake on my part, everybody. I'm sorry. Okay. The 80s. Let's go. So, the 80s. Bigger meant better. Bigger hair, bigger shoulder pads, bigger phones. Everything was bigger and it was great. There was a fitness craze and athletic clothes were incorporated into casual wear. So people were wearing sweatshirts, leggings, spandex as like casual wear. That's also where you see the 80s aerobic dancers. So um, in the 80s, power dressing gained more popularity as women began working in high power jobs, like high position jobs, and they wanted their wardrobe to be a sign of them wanting to be taken seriously. So they had these padded shoulders, they had these bright colors, they had these nice earrings, sometimes they had like nice accessories, and it was them being like, I'm your boss, you're gonna take me seriously, but I'm also hot, and you gotta know that. So good for them. In the 80s, punk fashion also became a lot more popularized. It began in like the mid 70s, but the 80s was definitely when it popped off. Uh, Punks were people that rejected consumerism, elitism, they were anti-establishment, and they were against the status quo. Many people in this community preferred to upcycle their clothes instead of buying new ones, hence the worn out clothes and safety pins. You see these safety pins on this dude, and these ripped jeans on this band, which I'm going to get to actually. Punks popularized ripped jeans when a band called the Ramones, this is them, the Ramones, they didn't have money to buy new jeans, so they just continued wearing their own jeans, which like caused big holes because they would like slide around on stage and their jeans wore out and got holes in them. And people in the punk community were like, oh, that's so sick. And like, they also started doing that. And eventually, this ripped jean thing came to mainstream. And eventually, ripped jeans got as popular as they are today. So, yay. Good. Thank you, Ramon. The 90s. Okay. The 90s. Clothing became even more casual than it was before. Grunge fashion also was really popular during this time. Models like Naomi Campbell, here she is, the queen, and Cindy Crawford, here she is, pretty, pretty, peaked supermodeling. They were, they were the it girls for real. Sportswear continued, like from the 80s sports craze, with biker shorts, leggings, keds, and oversized sweatshirts. Look at these sporty people. Mini skirts made a comeback. Fun, fun, fun. The baggy, worn out look of grunge was popular. Here's some grunge folk over here. Kurt Cobain was also like in the whole grunge scene, and he was definitely probably the face of it. I don't know. So grunge was like worn out clothes, flannel, Doc Martens. But despite this, glamour was definitely still popular in the decade. Here, these ladies, TLC, bright colors, fun. The 2000s. So, the 2000s, Y2K, who doesn't know what this is? So, skin was in, baby. There's no doubt about that. There were low rise jeans. Over here, low rise jeans from Destiny Child. Whale tails, which was which is basically when people would like wear thongs and then they wear low rise jeans and then they pull the thongs uh, over their hips, and you could see it. Baby tees, which are just like really tight t-shirts. Mini skirts. Here, y'all know what mini skirts are. Corselet tops, which is what Beyonce is wearing right here. You go, girl. Um, sweat streetwear was also very popular and mainly worn by African Americans. Let's go. So streetwear consisted of things like jerseys, baggy jeans, caps, whether that was like a baseball hat or a bucket hat like he's wearing here. Um, Chunky jewelry, so like chunky chains, chunky earrings, and name brand sneakers like Nikes, Adidas, Jordans, Air Forces. So fast fashion was introduced in the 2000s when H&M collaborated with Karl Lagerfeld, who's like a high quality brand, to create a more affordable form of couture clothing for the working class. They wanted to make some nice clothing for us brokies, and people loved it, which is obviously why fast fashion is so popular. People love it. Um, Fast fashion is an issue, but it wasn't an issue at this time because people had self control. But yeah, but they're not gonna have self control soon. We're in the 2020s now. This is where things are getting close to home, everybody. The 2020s. COVID-19 led to many people being stuck at home for 2 years with nothing but the internet. This led to a lot more individualism as people discovered their own personal interests. So instead of just like dressing how they felt like their friends were like, they were like, my friends, I haven't seen them in years, so I'm just gonna wear what I like. There's still like regular casual clothing. Like I'm not saying every single person dresses how they like to. It's definitely like a shirt and jeans most of the time, but there's still a lot of different things to choose from. There's cottagecore, light/dark academia, harajuku, grunge, punk, streetwear, Y2K, maximalism. I feel like people are just more expressive with what they wear, and nowadays, really creative people are like, I don't care if I get judged. I look good, so good for you, girl. Now to my issues. Fast fashion. Fast fashion is making a big issue during this time because of websites like Shein, which um, people are able to buy bulks of clothing for really cheap. And then they'll be like, oh, I don't actually like this outfit, but it was $2, so I just bought it because it doesn't matter. But when you buy like $22 shirts and you end up not liking 19 of them, it makes so much waste. Trends used to last for 2 to 3 years, but now they're lasting for like 2 to 3 months, which means people are buying a lot more clothing in a shorter period of time. And they're getting rid of a lot of those clothes, which makes a lot of waste. Shein also isn't even good quality, and they're using child slaves. So, yeah, pick up your slack. Anyways, despite all of that, I do love 2020 fashion. Like I said, I think it's so expressive, it's so fun, it's so colorful. These pictures are actually from a friend of mine. So pretty. Uh, you can see here's like some kidcore. Here's some where is it? There's Harajuku somewhere. This was like kind of Harajuku to be honest. Here's some, like light academia. We got some fun, some bright. We got a little bit of everything. And how could you not love it? It's fun. It's expressive. It's personal, and it's what people love. You know, you should customize your avatar as much as you want. In conclusion, wardrobe has changed a lot, that's without question, and no era, in my opinion, is better or worse than the other. I think the fashion from each time period was nice in its own way, and though there are some clothes I'd prefer to wear more than others, everything was very interesting, and I had a lot of fun doing this. Wardrobe has definitely changed a lot, and it will continue to change over time. That's without a doubt, baby. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out, I guess.